out. Good morning, Tony Messenger.
Good morning, McGraw. How the heck are you?
We are doing here on the Big 550 KTRS. I want to get your thoughts on the debate from last night, but before we talk national, let's talk a little local here. It seems to me that I don't know if it's me or if they're starting late or I'm just not seeing it, but there's not a whole lot of talk about Kander versus Greitens, or Kander versus Trump and Greitens versus Koster. Am I missing something, or is that race yet to get started, or is so much oxygen being sucked out by the presidential race?
You mean, just to be clear, you mean Kander versus Blunt for U.S. Senate and Koster versus Greitens for governor?
Yes.
Okay. I think you had a thought bubble in there. Yeah, I think part of it is this is one of those national elections in which Trump and Clinton are sucking all of the oxygen out of the air. It's also from starting with the governor's race. It's a complicated race to cover because you have one candidate in Eric Greitens who isn't really taking much in the way of positions, isn't really communicating much with the media, is trying to run a campaign in which he basically, just takes his advertising message directly to voters. And so it's a non-traditional campaign to some degree in that. And then I hate to go here because it's just sort of depressing for me in terms of, my profession, but every 4 years when we have another big governor's race or U.S. Senate race, we have fewer traditional local journalists to cover it. And that's part of the issue. I mean, when I was covering Blunt's last race, we had 2 or 3 more, staff members dealing specifically with politics and that sort of thing, trying to cover these sorts of races. And that's just the nature of journalism right now. It's one of the reasons why I think our democracy is struggling, because there are fewer of us and we are having a harder time figuring out where we exist in this digital world. And some of the, political folks are taking advantage of that too. They're trying to take their message directly to voters and ignore the media. So I think that's part of it. But no doubt in this particular race, Trump and Clinton just sort of take up all the oxygen, and it's a little bit hard to find focus for the Senate race, the gubernatorial race, let alone the other statewide races that are going on.
I do find it interesting, though, when I talk to Democrats, when I talk to Republicans don't like Greitens. And we see it when somebody like a Sam Fox gave a whole bunch of money to Chris Koster, the Democrat. And Republicans don't really like Greitens. It's a very strange governor's race here in Missouri this time around.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the probably first time ever in Missouri history where you have 2 major party candidates who both used to be part of the other party. And one of them, Chris Koster, has taken advantage of that in terms of building coalitions both within the Democratic Party, Chris Koster is a Democrat, and the Republican Party where he used to reside and still holds some pretty conservative positions. He's gone and gotten a coalition that includes most of the agriculture community that traditionally votes Republican, or at least has over the last decade or so in Missouri. And so that's a fascinating situation going on. Meanwhile, Greitens' entire primary campaign was the Republican Party's corrupt, I'm going to blow it up. Well, when you spend months telling your base, you're corrupt and I'm going to blow up Jefferson City, and you never really tell anybody what you're actually going to do, but you're going to blow it up. See you out there with the big, Gatling gun during the commercial. That doesn't bode well for your ability to build a coalition. And so a lot of traditional Republicans don't trust Greitens. And what's interesting about this year is not only do they not trust Greitens, they've already given themselves permission to not vote for Donald Trump because they realize he's not a traditional Republican, and many of them just find him horribly offensive. And so there are a lot of traditional Republicans who are just lost this year in terms of they're beside themselves. They don't have a presidential candidate. They're voting for the Democrat for governor. It just makes it one of the strangest years of my lifetime, definitely my professional lifetime in politics.
What did you think of last night's presidential debate? And I use that term loosely.
Well, I mean, on one hand, it's embarrassing that one of our national candidates for president really just believes that standing up on stage and behaving like a child is appropriate behavior. But from a pure analysis standpoint, Hillary Clinton won the debate. Hillary Clinton talked about policy that bodes well for her potential to win the presidency. She had 3 or 4 quality lines that I think will resonate with voters. The most important one being when Donald Trump actually tried to criticize her for preparing for the debate. She said, "That's not all I'm preparing for. I've been preparing to be president." And that was one of those lines that just delineates the difference between the candidates. We have a serious, experienced candidate who understands that it's hard to be president and you have to prepare. And we have another guy who's just standing up there riffing. And he thinks that's going to work. And I tweeted last night, if you watch that debate, unless you're somebody who stole lunch money as a kid, there's no way you came out of that debate thinking anybody but Hillary Clinton won.
Well, we're going to take phone calls and open up to the audience and get their thoughts in the 9 o'clock hour. Tony Messenger, always a pleasure here, Tuesdays and Thursdays with us, and always online at stltoday.com. Tony, thanks for checking in.
Have a great day, McGraw.